Okay, I'm so excited for today. Welcome to an exciting, thrilling, powerhouse episode of the R&B Show. Bruce, what up, you good-looking man?
How you doing, Ron? Great to have you back, my friend.
Thank you. Great to be back, and like so excited to be back, especially now with like all the Pink Floyd stuff that you're doing, and like everyone's just loving it. So I'm excited to get back to my roots on this channel. So like, what are we talking about today, my
Absolutely.
friend?
This is going to be great. Yeah. And, just to kind of let our sort of more recent viewers know that we are mostly a classic rock channel, and that's sort of been our bread and butter and our forte. But every now and then, you and I like to throw out the occasional movie review and TV show review, especially for certain properties that we have like long uh, investments and history with.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is really throwing it back because, man, I was going through some of our past videos, and our very first video that we started this channel with was our retro Rocky 5 review,
Was it
believe it or not.
really? I
So, yeah, this is like a nice full
oh.
circle here.
Because that's so fun. Because you know what, we did a recording prior to that, which was you and I watching like a bootleg copy of Star Wars, A New Hope, and I always think of that as the first one, but you're right. Like the first legit one is Rocky Five. Hey, yo,
Yep. So this is like really bringing it back kind of full
yeah.
circle for us.
Well, and and two, it's like it's so funny. I feel like to just addressing, I won't go into too long, but the movie piece of you and I's dynamic, like it's really funny because like I like that's how I think of you, like is like whenever there's a new movie coming out or certainly something with Lucasfilm about to happen, I can always expect to look down on my phone and just get like a barrage of hate texts, angry, livid text from this beautiful, good-looking man right here. So I'm excited because I was at this. So I'm gonna tell him what's up right now. Okay. We're gonna talk about Creed 3, the movie that just came out.
Non spoilers.
Yeah, no,
Non-spoiler. Just
oh,
let
we're
people know. There's safe. This
non-spoiler.
safe territory here, folks.
Okay, so non-spoilery, just bird's eye view, keeping it simple. I love this movie so much, and the whole time I'm watching it, like in between, in between crying my face off. I'm just kidding. It was a few like crocodile tears, which we'll talk about. Um, but I was like, God, I hope Bruce likes this movie. So I was like, but that's my commitment to Bruce is like, I can't enjoy it without knowing that he's either happy, content, or safe, or enjoying it. Did you enjoy this movie flat out, man?
Yeah. Otherwise, I know you're probably like kind of cuddled up in a ball waiting for like the angry text to arrive. But no,
So serious.
thankfully, yes, I went into it. You saw it before I did. You're kind of getting the jump on me on some of these movies, Ron, but you saw it before I did.
Because I
But
have the
thankfully,
AMC stubs. I want everyone to know I have a daughter that loves movies, and specifically a daughter that loves action movies. So I'm like, you know what? I'm investing. I got the AMC stubs. So okay.
and that's a free plug. I mean, so that must mean you're really invested, Ron. So,
Invested.
but anyway, yeah. So went to go see it recently. I liked it. We're kind of get into it a little bit further as far as what we each like, but I was actually pleasantly surprised because when we get to like a third installment of any franchise, that's I feel like that's really where it's either going to be hit or miss for the future of it, where you're either going to afford yourself more opportunities moving forward, or it's really just like you could tell it's losing steam.
Yeah.
This one, when we first got like the initial Creed, did you ever expect we'd actually be at a Creed 3 run?
More so. So I don't think this is a spoiler. Over the past few weeks, as of shooting, so it's March 8th. We're shooting this on March 8th. So it just came out like last weekend. And it's a huge box office hit for a sports movie. It's the greatest like opening weekend for a sports movie and certainly a Creed movie. And like so as of the past few months leading up to this, we know that Sylvester Stallone, who is like my hero, I mean, like this poster like lives up here, has publicly said that I'm not involved with this movie. It went in a different direction. Obviously, we know there's fights with him and Erwin Winkler in the family. And to me, so I was like, okay, like I came to the other Creed movies as a Stallone fan, as a Rocky fan, and I'm like, whatever, man. Like wherever you're gonna take me, I don't care. I'm happy just to be with Uncle Rocky. Like I'm happy to go anywhere with you. This
Yeah.
movie, I feel like actually is the first in my mind the first real solo outing where they really kind of respectfully, kindly break free and go in it's similar in tone, similar in structure for sure, but like I'm like, this movie is its own thing. Like, so instead of it being kind of like, in my mind, instead of it being the third and just a third entry in a series, to me, this is like a real growing up, like real like saying, like, because we said goodbye to Rocky in the last movie. I mean, I really, there's also that, like we in Rocky or in Creed 2, he says goodbye. He goes home, like Rambo, like he goes home. So I think this movie really
Yeah.
stands on its own. That's my big kind of comment here.
Yeah. And, like you alluded to, obviously behind the scenes, things have gotten quite nasty. And a lot of it centers on, I know Stallone was really hoping to kind of get a little bit of ownership back of the character. So a lot of it centers on, that kind of thing. But someone brought up a good point. I had seen another non-spoiler review prior to seeing the movie, and they made a good point that it's almost a good thing that Stallone's not in this film if the only purpose he was going to serve moving forward was as like maybe they kill him off or something like that, because that's not something that people want to see for that Rocky character. They don't want to see him die on screen, kind of thing.
No.
Plus, this also really affords Michael B. Jordan the chance to. It's not, he doesn't have to rely on that crutch of having, the Stallone cameo in every Creed movie. Now this is really, does this character on its own stand up? Obviously, if the box office receipts are anything to tell by, and even like the critical response to this, he certainly passes with flying colors. And we have to make note of that he's also directing this movie. So
and he does it. That's why I was talking to my ex-wife about this. I'm like, like I've always appreciated the hell out of him as a movie star, and he doesn't do that many movies per year. He doesn't like oversaturate himself, which is great.
Yeah.
But I was never like in Black Panther. People are like love Killmonger. They think he's like the best villain, and I see that. I don't personally like. I just feel like he's like, to me, he's like mustache twirling. Like he's over the top acting a little bit. And it doesn't land for me. In the Creed movies, he's been great. Like I've enjoyed him, but I never loved him. Oh my goodness. In this movie, I think he deserves an Oscar. I think he is a phenomenal, and I mean, obviously everyone thinks he's a phenomenal actor, but like I just got to the party. I think he's phenomenal. And maybe having the directing component freed him up to be a better actor. I was saying to my ex-wife, I was like, yeah, like I never liked him, but now, I mean, I never loved him. I always liked him. I never like loved him. And she's like, maybe that's the thing. And it's so true. Like he is so gifted as a director. And obviously he's learned from the best, like, so, and
he's taking chances, right? He's taking chances with this because,
oh my God,
he is taking some stylistic risk that for some people it's either going to land or not, particularly in some of the fight sequences. I had read somewhere that he's like a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. That's anime, and there are components of that within the storytelling that he likes and within the way they do fights, where it's more metaphysical and there's things like that going on. So, that's one of those risks that I think he took, and for some it'll pay off, for some others probably not. But he is having the courage to put his stamp on this franchise
unapologetically, and it's probably so much stress. Like at this stage in the game, like in the franchise, and I mean all the things that came before it, like it's huge. But I think too, like Stallone had to direct Rocky 2 because no one else would, and then that kind of set him off on a path. I think he directed, oh my God, what was it right before? Alley, something Alley. Paradise Alley, yeah. Like he directed something right before just to practice, but like, like I love that, like the star, like in a Rocky thing, like you should direct, like it's part and parcel. But I gotta say, as a director and as a storyteller, like if you look at like one theme throughout the 9 movies, and then certainly really hardcore the last 3 movies, it's this idea of like really like what it really means to be a man, right? And because we have this oeuvre, this canon of 9 films, and Stallone really set that tone where like each Rocky movie is about where he was at in life, which you and I have talked about, right?
Yeah.
I think these Creed movies are like, they like double down on what it is to be a man, and at certain stages in your life, and there's I work with, like I've talked about this so many times. I work with all women, phenomenal women. They want men to be men. you know, in the healthiest, best sense possible. And I think this, and so I never, like, I was never taught like what it means to be a man, or I always had to go to Rocky movies to be taught at certain stages in my life. And this movie, the reason I was like tearing up is because he is a director, like his relationship with his daughter in this movie, it like, I think in the Rocky movies, there was always a good relationship between the son and the father and
Yeah.
son. And obviously we see a lot of in Rocky 5, and in Rocky Balboa. But with this one, he just like being a girl dad, like like there's a scene in the beginning where he, like right in the beginning, he's retired, no spoiler. He's retired and his daughter wants him to do a tea party with her. And he's sitting there and he looks so miserable. And I know that feeling, you know, and I think Michael B. Jordan just like the fact, just like everyone's gonna talk about the fights, and the fights are, and they're shock rate. And it's one of my, the last fight is one of my favorite fights ever in this canon. But those moments that he has with Amara, with his daughter, I'm blown away, and how he like advocates for her in school, and his relationship to his wife, and like God, like I just, the intimacy of this movie, and how much he, as bombastic as the fight scenes are and all these things, the fact that he took time, and those scenes are not quick. They're like that you sit and you're like with the family. I mean, I want to see more of that stuff. Like that to me, coupled with like a Maverick, where, you know, Tom Cruise, like we talked about, like does a great job of like not being a douchebag, toxic asshole, but being like just like a real good man, you know, like
Yeah.
I want to be like Maverick, right? Like here you see like I want to be a real good dad, I want to be a real good husband. That's the stuff that gets me, where it elevates it from just like a sports movie to just a really good drama, and he sticks the landing.
Yeah, and that's been like a through line with all of the Rocky films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, in many ways, even I think Stallone and Erwin Winkler would have said it early on that it's not really a boxing movie. It's kind of a love story. And so it's always been the personal elements of the movie that draw you in, because then that's what elevates, you know, anyone who'll tell you, to any kind of sports promoter, boxing promoter will tell you that, you know, what elevates the human investment is that you have to be involved in who's, you know, competing in all those things. That's what makes, you know, then the fights and, you know, whatever sport you're into, that's what makes it, you know, engrossing. And so that's what pays off later with the, you know, the film, because obviously the character is going through new challenges. And that was always a thing in the Rocky series as well. And, you know, what works with this too is that it's a very simple story, which has always been when the Rocky films have worked best. It's not overly complicated. It's just a very simple story told well. And again, like you say, it's always kind of studies in manhood, which is why a whole generation like ours, these were sort of our mentor figures, you know, kind of teaching us the way. And it continues with this. And like I said, I really enjoyed the father-daughter relationship in this. I thought the casting of the daughter was great.
She's great.
Obviously, you know, Tessa does a great job in it too. She's empowered, she's strong without being emasculating, which is what most of like Hollywood is out to do with most, you know, sort of central male figures. So that relationship is well done. And then, holy cow, I mean, the big revelation, Jonathan Majors, where the hell did this guy come from, man?
Well,
and
he's in
everything.
And
I know you saw it coming, being the huge, you know, fanboy, Marvel fanboy that you are.
Hang on. My daughter picked a side, and I support her. My daughter's full Marvel. I'm like full DC, but it's okay. I'm on the team. It's okay. I had to go see Ant-Man twice with her, and he's the best thing about that movie. Like that movie is cute. It's fun. It's by no means great high art, but he just like knows the assignment and does A+ work. Like, and in this movie, he really got to shine. And I mean, this guy is the next everything.
He's poised for stardom now. I mean, you know, between obviously being set with Marvel, and he's going to be carrying that franchise for a while now. And this, it's like now he's fully arrived. And I'll tell you, man, you know, this is a guy now who, if he wants to, he can be in the Expendables with a slide down the road. He can do his own action franchises, but this guy can act. There were subtle things in this, like he goes big when he has to go big, but there's a coiled kind of thing where you are very uncomfortable watching this guy because you know that it's
When
simmering there,
when he's in the restaurant and you see it in the trailer, like when he's walking through and he's not used to being around that many people, like, and he doesn't know his place and he's insecure, and like they're having lunch, and like they're having lunch, like they're like eating and like working it, and I was like, again, the detail, but you see how he's like so uncomfortable, and he's just not used to, like, he can't let his guard down. He's afraid he's gonna get like, like shivved in a second. Like, I mean, this guy's a real actor, like phenomenal. Like, I mean, oh God, one
Yeah.
of the major.
And without giving too much away, the story, again, simple, but it basically centers on, with Adonis, basically his past comes back to haunt him in the form of a childhood friend, got into some trouble, as young kids, and the ramifications of that as adults, and the choices we make, and the accountability for these things, and the degree of accountability is very important. But again, the studies in, again, manhood and the paths that your life can take based on the choices you make, and also like the choices that are imposed on you also.
We like, that being said, like, with Marvel, like a lot of times I'll hear podcasters talking about the stakes in the Marvel movies. So like with the first Ant-Man, people were like, this is great that it's not like the world is about to end. It's like a localized little problem that Ant-Man can solve, and you have varying degrees of that. What's funny is that this is a very simple story, like you're saying, and yet the stakes in the fight were so, like, I mean, obviously it's a Rocky movie, or it's a Creed movie, so there's going to be a fight at the end, right? No spoiler, but the fight at the end to me was more important and more personal than like any other fight, I think, in the Rocky franchise, except for the second Creed fight. Like, I love that fight in Rocky 2, but like, I mean, this was the most personal. And I remember thinking, like, at one point, because what you said, like, these are childhood friends, at one point, I like in the middle, which is shot so cool, like, it's so different, but it's so cool. I was like, oh man, I wish they would just like apologize to each other. I don't know why. I was like, I wish that, like, a part of me thought that like Adonis would be like, I'm sorry, man, and then the other guy, I'm sorry. And that made it more believable and more relatable and more real, and I like, God, like, what good writing, what good directing, what good performing. I mean, my only complaint is, though.
Go for it.
So I will say, like, my only complaint, it's like, I was super okay with the fact that we don't have Rocky in this movie, and I didn't know how I'd feel about that, but like, I was really on board. That being said, I don't feel like we have a different mentor character, right? Like Duke's son is who trains him. He does, like, I love that actor, but like he doesn't have the wisdom, he doesn't have the gravitas that a Stallone does. That regardless of like when, like, we've known Rocky through all these movies, but there could be a different boxing movie where Stallone plays like a mentor, and I would still like Stallone carries. I mean, Stallone's been around the block, whereas this guy, like, I forget, it's like Duke, but he doesn't have, like, he's just, I know he's somebody's son too in the movie, but he doesn't have the gravitas. And I wish that there was this like other, and yet you have Felicia Rashad is a great mentor. So you have these great supporting like characters, but you don't have like the Yoda. And that to me was always so important. When we didn't have Mickey, we had Apollo. And then we lose Apollo, and like we had Duke. And then in Rocky Balboa, like we kind of, he like, I mean, we still have Duke, right? Like, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And then the Creed movies, we had Rocky. So it's like I needed something like a sage. I don't know why. Maybe that's stupid.
Well,
but like,
and this is where you can argue, like, was the Stallone presence missed or not? I think for a lot of it, probably not so, but it was very strange not having any kind of mention of him at all, because obviously at such a crucial part in Adonis' story, you would think, he would factor in somehow. But there's not even like really mention of him. Like, they allude to, like, when his dad Apollo gave someone a shot, but I don't think they mention him by name. And I think, they had to do that, because to do that, then if you invoke the name, then people are immediately, well, where is he? And like, why is he missing in the story? So it's like, you can't draw too much from it. So it was a very unfortunate place that they found themselves in as far as with that. And I think it was a tough one. So I can understand why they did it the way they did. but at the same time, it speaks to what you're talking about,
Yeah.
where that without that sort of that grounding character, that senior figure, like you said, the Yoda character, it is lacking a little something, you know. And I would say, I guess I have a similar. I would agree with you on this.
And
100%.
I want to say this with respect to spoilers, because there is one thing. Okay, like if you guys are if you haven't seen the movie yet, what I'm about to say could be, so just like fast forward a little bit, but like
Yeah.
it might be a spoiler, but it might not. Yeah, earmuffs. There is a hint.
Oh, I gotta listen. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you gotta listen. There is a hint in the fight scene, something that is familiar to us from past movies. I'll be super vague. And that didn't work for me because of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So if you haven't seen it yet, like, you know, like I think that was pretty vague what I said, but if you have seen it yet, I think you know what I'm talking about. There's something super iconic that happens. And it that like the whole movie, I was like, oh, will they do that thing? And then they do it, and I was like,
It felt unearned.
It felt like we've moved on. Like that was okay. I have to say it. I have to say it. It was a musical thing. I'll just say that. It was a musical thing. There's a musical thing. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't need that. Like, I don't need that anymore. It was like too late. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. I knew what you were talking about as you were kind of going the circuitous route around it, you know? Yeah, I see what you're saying. I didn't mind it as much because I think having a little bit of that, you know, that because it's such a soaring motif, you know, that it's like, you know, okay, you know, but it does feel more in the Rocky domain, whereas like you said, with this, having kind of successfully for the most part for most of the movie moved on and set up new groundwork. I mean, they're even laying down groundwork for the Drago movie, which we know is coming up. So that's in there too. They are really like, it's almost like they're going to create their little multiverse within this. And, you know, bottom line for me, they did a hell of a job with this. Hats off to Michael B. Jordan. Hats off to the cast. You know, I think anyone who's a fan of this franchise, you should like it. You know, depending if you go into it, you know, with an open mind. Again, expect a few little stylistic kind of shifts, but I think overall Michael B. Jordan pulled it off, and you know his future is bright as far as what he wants to do directing wise.
Oh yeah, give him anything. Like any drama, I mean, he's just, I mean, no easy task. He dominates. And you know, yeah, like my final thoughts, I'll keep it super simple because you said it. I really was like, ugh, Drago movie. I'm now so on board for the Drago movie. Because of the groundwork they laid in this movie. So yeah, they stuck the landing. I'm so excited for this franchise moving forward. I'm not there aren't any other franchises that I'm equally as excited about as this. This is like we talk about with Cobra Kai. This is familiar, it's new, it's the best way to do legacy. So in my opinion. So like now it's its own thing. Now it's its own thing, and I'm here for it. Like that transition was beautiful. 1, 2, 3 now. Like we've earned the transition. I'm ready to move forward with Michael B. Jordan and this whole franchise. Give me the Drago movie. I'm here for it.
Same here. I mean, this could have been just a self-contained trilogy. The way it ended, it leaves it to where if you want to just leave it there or move on, which most, of course, properties are going to do, but it kind of works as its own entity. Obviously, they'll move on. But again, I think the promise of it continues because it's a winning formula. And they didn't do anything here to sully it because they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So that's, again, a big lesson to everyone else out there who are trying to like revitalize these properties, you know, kind of carry them forward for new generations. There's a way to do it. Just see what they did with Creed, see what they did with Cobra Kai. Between these two franchises, you'll learn everything you need to know about doing it right. And that's the bottom line for me.
That's the bottom line. I'm with you. I stand by you. I support your life choices, Bruce.
Well, I appreciate it, Ron. Thank you so much for joining us, you know, again, for another review. And we will carry on, as always, you know, with obviously covering classic rock, all the stuff that you've grown familiar with on the channel. If you liked what you saw here, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing, all the good stuff. If you've seen Creed, or if you're kind of expecting to, you're excited about it, definitely let us know what you thought about it. And we should be back within a few weeks with yet another major franchise. And this is one we've been meaning to talk about for a while and haven't delved into. and that will be John Wick 4. So expect that review within, I think, 3 weeks time. And Ron will be back.
I thought you were gonna say Shazam too, but yeah, no, that's John Wick is fine.
No, you can pipe in a solo video for that one, Ron. You're on your own.
I'll get right on top of that.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see all of you again very, very soon. Okay. Peace.